go. That is one big, beautiful river. Hey friends, JT Wardle here. I am going to tell you what I do for a pre-check, pre-flight, pre-check list over on my motor here. So you should do this every time you fly. That's why I'm slow, is checking out my equipment before I get up there and it becomes dangerous. So you're looking for anything that needs to be repaired or fixed or that will cause a problem up in the air. So I start with the non-motor things first, when we start with the top to the bottom all the time. So we're going to look at our frame here and make sure our connections are there. I've got our straps here as redundant. I'll usually put those in, and I'm going to feel the frame all the way down, but checking the straps. And then anytime there is a connection where you have your push button there, make sure it's pushed in there, checking. So starting the net, making sure the net is on, there's nothing that's loose. If something were to hit that, is it going to go into the prop? Following the frame all the way around, checking, make sure these are tight with my shoulder. Is my net tight? Everything is there. Connections are good, connections are good. Make sure it's not frayed, not worn out. It's gonna pull. You can gently pull it so it doesn't start. Make sure that it doesn't hang up. All right, then we start with our harness. Make sure you're tied in tight on the top. Make sure our straps are there. Then I'll test my buckles, make sure my buckles are good. So does it buckle in? Okay, it holds tight, and can I get it out? So a lot of times we beach fly and we get some sand on these, and you will think it is locked in, but it's not. And you'll pull it and it'll come out because there's a piece of sand in there keeping it from getting on that hook. Check your connections, make sure they're good. So you'll snap those in. Make sure your connections are all good. Then I'm gonna check my straps work, right? So they're gonna be able to loosen and go down. Then you go down to your swing arms, make sure they're fine. You can also check your rubber while you're looking at your swing arms here. Check my seat board that it's not cracked. That could adjust your weight shifting and flowing if that is cracked and you're trying to do it and it's open. So solid seat board, the front seat board, the extra comfort seat works fine. Check there, make sure you got your safety on there. I've got a safety that this pin is not going to slip out from vibrations. I always put my throttle on my carabiners here. So the carabiners is a nice, you want to keep your throttle out of the dirt and the sand kind of thing. You can count them up with your magnet or Velcro or some other thing. I just get in the habit of snapping that in when I am done with that throttle. Also, since we're here, it's part of the motor, but we'll do it now. We'll come back, it's part of the short, but you want to make sure it snaps back. Make sure your Velcro is not kinked. Make this as a nice run. It can't go back. Give it a little test. If you're going up and down, do you see your carburetor being pulled when your hands are going up or down? So give it a little bit of a test. Snap back. Velcro is good. Velcro doesn't need to be replaced. It can wear out and fray. So put your throttle there. Okay, then let's come over to this side. I keep my reserve over on my right hand side. Always check your reserve before you go. I've got two plastics in this design here that I always check and see. I can see the plastic through the hole, through the loop, through the plastic. This morning when I came out and checked, this was out on the outside like that. So that had, getting in and out of the van, had pulled that out. You want to make sure it's tucked in here nicely into the sleeve. If this handle starts flapping and catches something, then that could pull everything open. So make sure your reserve is checked annually. You want to make sure there's somebody that repacks that reserve. You don't want it like a garbage sack that you throw it out and that plastic garbage, it's not going to open because it's never been packed or opened. So got to have those creases and folds not turn into a tragedy when you're trying to. Everything is good on the reserve. Then you want to see if your harness is in place with the straps. So middle top straps, then middle strap. And that's another thing that came off the other day and I spotted it before I flew, is I'm checking my straps. You got a middle strap and a bottom strap. Are they on and connected? So I'll give that a pull and make sure those are connected all the way from the middle, top, middle, and bottom. Then also check your webbing here. Make sure that you got a nice pull. Nothing is going through and tangled up there on your harness. The harness is good. So now we're going to go around to the motor. Let me flip this around. So the first thing I check is the airbox. If it's loose, I'm going to tighten it and check to see if it's broken. I've had a couple of these break. They have redesigned these nice so that they are more solid in their plastic holding on. But you want to make sure there's no cracks on this rubber here. Throttle cable pull there. You want a little bit of play there, just a little bit, so that it's not pulling as soon as you barely touch it. And everything looks good. Then I'm gonna go down, check my lead cord here to my spark plug. I've wrapped this because we've got some sharp carbon right there that could cut through. Any kind of connection interruption in your electricity is not going to be good for you. I'll follow my fuel air prime pump right here, follow it down, checking the line that there's no air bubbles. If there's air bubbles in there, then that's going to lead to some issues. So always check how it's routed in and whether or not you're getting air. Make sure that I can, this is before I've started, it's not too hot, but I can't turn that spark plug with my finger, which is good. I can pull this off and check it even more. Don't want the nipple on the end to be loose either. So both of those are tight. All the bolts look good. You do have some marking here that if it vibrates and comes loose, so it's either the Loctite or the fingernail polish will give me a little indication if anything is loosened or moved. I'll check those spots to see if there's anything that's moved. Then I check my springs, make sure my springs are good, but you want to make sure your safety metal is there on, all your springs are good. And afterwards I will put some, I just came down from flying, I'll make sure I WD these, see that you can get that moving. See, there's a little bit of movement there. That's what you need, because if it seizes up, then you're gonna get a crack. Then I'll follow the exhaust system here. You got our expansion chamber here into our silencer here. Make sure it's all good. Check the bolts are not loose there. Then we're gonna go down to our fuel. Make sure our strap, checking our line here. Fuel cap is on tight and the fuel connection is on tight. Strap is not loose and I can't move that. Gas tank is in solid, so we're checking that. I also want to inspect the chassis to make sure that I don't see any cracks or any bits. So you're checking any of the bolts that there, if you see some bolt backtrack or pull out, you definitely want to be aware and tighten it down. Motor here, we went through and went all the way to the gas there. Then we're going to go and check our prop here. Before we do that, I'll give this a little bit of a make sure that the belt is good and not frayed. Check it out manually and see how it is. Then I'm gonna go and give this a little bit of a turn, see if there's any bearing issues. So this is solid, this is not loose or anything. You can see there's flex in this. We'll come and do our motor mounts right now too. So I'll give that a little bit of look and then I'll check my motor mounts. Plastic is good, no loose nuts, no loose bolts. It is all good. So then I'm gonna go around the edge of the leading edge and the trailing edge on my prop, checking my quickie hub is tight on there too. That shouldn't be loose. So that is just an overview checklist top to bottom. We are ready to go and start that, put us on our back. Once I am getting ready to start it, it's called fuel stick. So I start with, if I take this off to put fuel in there, I'm gonna put the cap in my pocket. So you want to make sure that you don't set it down on something or something. I always put it in my pocket, so then I know there it is. It needs to go right back on after I put the fuel on. Both the gas can and the fuel tank cap go on in my pocket and then back in there. So I do my fuel cap is on, then I check my straps, which means anything that's loose, the net and the strapping isn't going to go back in the prop Then I go to throttle. Does my throttle come back, right? That'll be an issue if it's stuck. You gotta have it snap back. Throttle snaps back. Then I usually put it right there so I can grab it and get it on my back. Then I check my ignition cap one more time, right? Sure, because sometimes I will pull this cap off and check my ignition and I didn't put it back on. So then we are gonna check our reserve one more time before we put it on our back. Make sure that those plastics are in. Then I'll put it on my back and we are clear to crank it. So then you make sure you're clear prop, and then on your back give it a couple of pulls and then start it right up. Alright, pre-check worked out nicely. Alright, that's our pre-check fuel stick and our full pre-check list, and then everybody else will be way up in the air going, what's going on? So get there early and do your pre-check. You can do it the night before. Even if I do it the night before, I'm gonna do my fuel stick at least. I'm gonna make sure that I got the fuel caps, the straps, the throttle, everything is good. Put this on to keep our prop nice and covered. That is all that we've got for you now. It is time to go. Let's laugh. Woo!